Good morning. Do I need to hold the microphone? Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. All right, awesome. So as Jess said, I'm Kristina Addington, and I'm a vegan chef here in Louisville. Along with my partner, Jeff Hinnis, who's been serving you breakfast, I own V-Grits food truck. Did you guys like the biscuits and gravy and grits? So that was all vegan, as you probably learned at this point, but I heard some of you weren't aware when you were eating it. And that's kind of the goal behind what we do. We want to use the same flavors and foods that people love, but just make them a little bit healthier. So I'm really excited to be a part of Connecting Things and talk to you guys today. I want to use our time together to tell my story, how I started a food business and why, and also talk a little bit about your passion, finding what you love to do and making it your life's work. So a little background about myself. I grew up in Shelby County, which is about 30 minutes east of here, with a very southern family. The majority of my extended family still lives down in southeastern Kentucky, literally in the hollers of Appalachia. And they all have, sitting beside their stove, a mason jar full of bacon grease, and they use it to cook potatoes and season their green beans. They wouldn't really know how to use flavors without it. So rewind about 8 years ago, I was 25 and working in the mortgage industry. Not a very fun job, but not really sure what direction I wanted to take with my life. And I just happened upon some information online about animal welfare. Specifically food production, factory farming, and whatnot. So I did quite a bit of research and decided that I didn't agree with any of it. So I chose to switch to a completely vegan lifestyle. And I won't go into too many of the details with that. I know it's kind of not fun to think about, but these are just some numbers that I wish more people were aware of, and I wish somebody had told me maybe earlier on. These are the U.S. slaughter numbers per year, how many animals we kill. So if you don't want to count the zeros, it's 39 million cows, 120 million pigs, and 9.5 billion chickens per year here in the U.S. So going vegan was a big change for me. Back then, the word vegan wasn't even really mainstream yet. A lot of people didn't know what it meant. My mom even cried when I told her that I was going vegan. For multiple reasons. One being, she was afraid that my future children, that I would have to pack their lunch every day for school or they wouldn't have anything to eat. And it's been 8 years and I still don't have those future children, but that's all right. She also was concerned because she didn't know who she was going to give all of these cookbooks to. Going vegan, I clearly couldn't cook like a normal person anymore. And normal to my family is very Southern style, greasy spoon kind of deliciousness. I grew up eating the very definition of comfort food. I think a lot of people, especially here in Kentucky in the South, food connects us, and we grow up kind of around the dinner table. Our family get-togethers, our family reunions, they're all revolving around food. And the foods that we love as we grow up tend to be what we ate when we were younger. Comfort food for me was my mom's chicken and dumplings or gravy and biscuits, which she would make from scratch almost every Saturday morning when I was younger. So the bad thing about us loving all these comfort foods here in Kentucky is that it puts our state close to the bottom in all of these illnesses. We have some of the highest rates of all of these diseases. And the thing is, the majority of these are actually diet-related and preventable. 1 in 3 cancer diagnosis is preventable with just a healthier diet. So a plant-based diet improves blood sugar, body weight, blood pressure, and cholesterol all at the same time, which is something that no drug can do. And all of this is just a little bit of a glimpse into why that we run a vegan food business. So within a couple of years of going vegan, I got a job with PETA, and that's People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I was so shocked about what I had found out and surprised that I hadn't heard it sooner. You know, the media likes to cover up the ugly details of stuff. So right early on, I wanted to talk to other people about what I had learned and share kind of the facts behind all the baloney. So I started volunteering for animal welfare groups, and I was offered a job from PETA, which was kind of like a dream job. I was constantly traveling, and I got to organize campaigns in over 40 states across the US, talk to a lot of people, talk to the media, all about just different animal welfare issues. I was also a corporate liaison for a while. This was a really cool behind-the-scenes job where I got to work directly with big companies to help them enhance their animal welfare policies. So I did a lot in the clothing industry. I worked with Puma to have them agree to never sell exotic animal skins, and with Calvin Klein to have them pull Angora off of their shelves after a really ugly investigation came out about that industry. So these were very rewarding jobs. You know, I could see the direct positive results from the work that I was doing. But the part of me that loved food and cooking still wasn't really being fulfilled. So I started doing that on the side a little bit, cooking for my friends and family and sharing, you know, vegan foods that maybe they hadn't experienced before and seeing them get excited about the idea of all these healthier foods being delicious. Taking care of people through food it's something that I really love to do, and the more I focused on that, the happier it made me. So I turned it into a side business. I built just a really basic website, did a lot of social media just to get the word out that I was doing vegan cooking classes. And I do want to take the time to say that you don't have to be an expert to really jump into something. You know, I had taken some classes at Sullivan for culinary here in Louisville, but at this point in time, I was by no means an expert chef. I just think that if you love something, you should go for it. If you put your heart in it, people will feel that, and they'll be open to, you know, what you have to say and what you want to share with them. And also know that with passion projects, I've definitely learned that you're going to have some hardships. You know, when you're working on something that means so much to you, it becomes easier to get your feelings hurt, you know, when you put it out there and, you know, you run the risk of rejection and whatnot. One of them for me was the general assumption that vegan food tastes bad, especially years ago. You know, people were enjoying steak and potatoes, and here I was coming at them with raw broccoli and quinoa, or so they thought. So there was that. Also, and this was, you know, long before the Vegrits food truck existed. But the best advice I can give when it comes to hardships like that is to really try to learn from them. It sounds like common sense, but I think it's important to listen to your naysayers, understand why they're saying what they're saying, you know, what their background is, why they feel that way, and that's going to help you better talk to them and kind of find some similarities and a common ground to work with. And also, it's normal to get distracted and lost in the general busy work of life, but just know that you can always go back to your passion or what it is that you love. You can always refocus, you know, never give up on what you want to work on. So a couple of years ago, I met some folks in a coffee shop in Shelbyville, where I'm from, and they told me they wanted to open a healthy cafe. So whether it was fate or just complete coincidence, I jumped on it. And I said, hey, you know, I love cooking healthy food. This is kind of something I specialize in. And again, I wasn't super confident that I was going to do exactly what they wanted, but I did some food samples for them and they loved it. So I jumped on board. And that was something that really kick-started things for me and got the ball rolling to being able to start my own food business now. So I started working with the cafe, and it was really overwhelming. So I had to make the choice pretty early on between PETA and cooking full-time. But what I realized was now I was able to talk to people about animal welfare and where our food comes from, but I could also feed them. I could cook for them and they could taste it, and I could really show them just how easy it can be. So after working at the cafe for a while, I realized I wanted to do my own thing and open my own place. And I talked to friends and family, and they were extremely supportive, which gave me the confidence to kind of go out there and start working towards that. So while I was on that journey, I applied for Cutthroat Kitchen on the Food Network. I did not think they would call me, and I didn't really think that I had the chops to go up against all those professional chefs that you see on TV. But they did call, and they wanted me to do the show. So I was immediately terrified that I was going to go on there, and they were going to recognize that I had no idea what I was doing, which wasn't entirely the case, but it was definitely a big fear of mine. So I flew out to LA, and the night before we filmed, I was in a hotel room by myself, and it was probably the most terrified I've ever been in my life, just thinking about going on TV and making a fool of myself. And also, I was going on there to represent vegan cooking, so I'd kind of put that weight on my own shoulders as well. But I got up the next morning, put my big girl pants on, and went to the studio, and I met the other chefs, and they were all different ages, different backgrounds, but I instantly recognized that they were just as nervous as I was. We were all about to have all these cameras thrown in our face and have to cook, who knows what. So that was very calming, and it helped me to just let go and kind of have fun with it. So again, just never assume that you're not good enough to try something, or you're not, enough of an expert to go for it. I really believe in just taking that leap of faith and learning how to fly on the way down.
I have a question.
Okay.
Were the other chefs that you're competing against, were they vegan, or was it?
No, not at all. They definitely hadn't had any vegan chefs on the show beforehand. And when I applied for it and I talked to them on the phone, I said that I wouldn't cook with meat and dairy, but I would be okay with making my own substitutions. So I kind of went in with a handicap. They didn't have soy milk or tofu or vegetable broth, so they didn't make it easy on me for sure, which was one of the cool things. I eventually outcooked the competition and won the show. And the vegan thing was cool because the judge on the show didn't know that I didn't use meat and dairy. It was just on taste alone against the other chefs who were using all sorts of things. So that definitely made me feel good about it. And so again, I walked away with the prize money, came back to Louisville, and wanted to continue pursuing opening up my own restaurant. So I looked at a few places in town, and nothing was really panning out at this time. And right about then, a connection of mine told me about this truck that he had. And I had been apprehensive of starting a food truck for different reasons, but I took a chance and I went and looked at it, and I fell in love with it. For the first time, I could really see V-Grits kind of coming into fruition. And also about that time, I met Jeff, who fell in love with the business too, lucky for me. So we kind of started on that path together. And with the prize money from Cutthroat Kitchen and a very successful crowdsourcing campaign that I did through Kickstarter, we were able to spend the winter building out the food truck. So we used social media to create a pretty good buzz about our launch party, which we had in February of this year. And it ended up being the coldest day of the year. So we had the launch party inside. We did it in the Monkey Wrench. And when we opened the kitchen, we had so many people in line. I was so nervous. I nearly peed my pants. I considered running out the door and just thinking, yeah, maybe I can't do this. But we pushed through, and it ended up being a huge success. So we really got to start the business on a high note there. And we have a unique business, I like to say, because it's mission-driven. We're not just feeding people, we're cooking for people. We're offering them an idea. It's, planting a seed to say that if you want to be healthier, you can do it. You can eat this way without missing out on things, and we'll help you. So over the summer, we have learned a whole lot about running a business. There's so many ins and outs, everything from how important social media is to understanding and building a relationship with your customers, knowing what they want and expect from you, and also how to make sure that you're making a profit. When you're doing something you love, it's easy to kind of get lost in it and lose focus, but you definitely still need to pay your bills. So fortunately, Jeff helps me keep focused on actually making sure the business is paying for itself. So it's been a roller coaster of emotions for us, and I can't express enough how much we love it. Every time we take the truck out, we hear people say, I've been waiting on this all week, or just kind of thanking us for existing, as a vegan, healthier option. And one thing that we both agree on about Vegrits is that it was never just going to be a food truck. We want it to be something bigger. We love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it. And we see that we're making good splash here in Louisville and getting people to be more open about this kind of food, but we want to reach as many people as possible. So I'm really excited about our next step, and I want to share with you guys just quickly what that's going to look like. We are working on a recipe subscription box. So imagine this box arriving on your doorstep, and you open it up, and it has a few easy but really cool recipes in it and the exact ingredients that you need to make them. And they're all vegan. You can do it on your own time. You don't have to worry about going shopping or what you're going to cook that week. And we're choosing this to be our next step because one of the things we hear most commonly on the truck is that people want to eat this way more often, but they just don't know where to start. The ingredients are new to them and a little intimidating. So instead of just feeding people through the truck, we're also going to help them feed themselves. All right, so I think I've rambled long enough. I do want to take some questions from you guys, but I just want to close with kind of bringing it back to your passion and finding what you love and really continuing to work at that. And just remember, there's an excitement in knowing that you can grow that infinitely.